Hey guys, Tyler Tolman coming to you live from the sauna. Welcome, welcome. Just going to turn on my red light here. Love the red. I know it was flashing there for a minute. I wanted to have this conversation about true physicians, where they come from and what happened to them. So, to get into what a true physician is, first of all, we have to define what that means. What does it mean to be a true physician? And in fact, if you look up the history of the word physician in Latin, it means an advanced knowledge of nature. And in the Greek, it says the art of healing. And so a true physician is somebody who has an advanced knowledge of nature and how to apply principles of nature into the art of healing, so that when people have cancer, heart disease, skin conditions, autoimmune stuff going on, a true physician has the ability to identify the condition and the symptoms, and then identify the plants and the processes for major detoxification and for healing. And the origins of physicians goes back tens of thousands of years, in fact. And the Egyptian physicians had the greatest knowledge in the known world. And the truth, if the truth be told, there was an advanced civilization. When I say advanced, I mean really enlightened, connected, open heart, mental, emotional, physical, advanced civilization of people that were called the Atlanteans. And in fact, back in the time of Atlantis, there were Atlantean colonies all around the world, which is why we see pyramids and buildings and structures that were put together almost identical, with these massive, massive stones and put together where you can't even put a piece of paper in between. And it wasn't like typical mortar. It was a process of building that we still can't figure out. And this is why you have people like Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval and all these amazing scientists and people. They're like, if you go to Angkor Wat, if you go to Central America, South America, North America, Egypt, Bosnia, all these places around the world, they had similar buildings. Well, they also had similar knowledge when it came to the art and practice of healing. And the Egyptian physicians specifically, if you look at the language of nature called Medu Netru, Medut means language, Netru means nature. If you look at the language of nature and you look at the physicians, they were called Medu Sunu. The physician was called Sunu, and the ladies were called Sunut, because anything that ends with the T in the Egyptians refers to the women, the feminine. In fact, in all their writing, everything that ends in a T is referring to the feminine aspect and principle of nature. Anyways, it's kind of besides the point. But that's where the word medicine comes from. Medicine meant Medu Sunu. So medicine means the words or the language, the words of the physician. And the physician had developed to such a high degree that they could identify through feeling, through listening, through sight, through smell, through so many things. A true physician, when you walk into a room, can observe your posture and know where things are out of alignment. They can look at your face and see where there's reproductive problems or stomach problems or issues with the heart or, issues with your kidneys by looking around your eyes. And there's so much you can identify just by looking at a person. And even, believe it or not, the tonality of a person's voice speaks volumes about what's happening for the individual emotionally. And then these physicians would look into the eyes, and they said the eyes are the gateway to the soul, and your iris is like a record of all your accumulations throughout your entire life, and the state of your kidneys, and the state of your liver, and the state of your lungs, which also gives clues as to the emotional state of the individual and what kind of traumas they've experienced. Beyond the irises, you look into the sclera, the whites of the eyes, and it shows the state of the lymphatic fluid all over the body. The lymphatic fluid around your colon, around your liver, around your lungs, around your brain. And it's the lymphatic fluid that is cleaning out all of the acid and waste products of the cells. And there can even be an exchange between the lymph and the blood. So if your lymphatic system's congested, if it's toxic, well, your blood is going to be there's like an equilibrium that takes place between your blood and your lymph. And the blood is so important that your lymph will take on as much as it can to prevent bloodborne diseases and bacterial infections, et cetera, et cetera. But the physician could look into your eyes and tell you the progression of disease of your liver, if you had an acute condition or a subacute or a chronic or a degenerative condition of any one of your organs, and then prescribe. The word scribe, the scribe comes from ancient Egypt, and the scribe is the one who writes down what the physician is saying. And they would prescribe what you had to do, give you the medicine, words of the physician, because the physician knows what to do, and put all these things together into a profound system that would support you in detoxification and essentially ultimate healing. And it was profound. And in fact, the Greeks, believed the Greeks were the best people on the planet. And the Greeks honored the Egyptians and said, we have some of the greatest knowledge and wisdom and all these things. But all of the great philosophers of Greece always went to Egypt to learn more and bring that knowledge base back if they could get it. Socrates, Hippocrates, Pythagoras, Plato, so many of them. And Hippocrates, of course, is given that phrase, the father of medicine. But Hippocrates stayed in Egypt around Saqqara, which is a massive, call it medical college for training the physicians. Spent 7 years to gain the knowledge of what it would take to heal. And he essentially changed the Western world and established a system for physicians, the Hippocratic Oath, which is saying a lot, but it also says, first, do no harm. We need to make sure that we can help people and heal people. And if there's any question that we could potentially be hurting people in the process with some type of drug or some type of process that could hurt a healthy person, then you just don't do it. And over literally thousands of years, medical colleges were established around the world to train true physicians. These physicians adjusted you. It's called chiropractic. Where's chiro? That's in Egypt, right? So you did chiropractic, you did adjustments, you did osteopathic. This is where chemistry comes from, where alchemy comes from, transmutation. It was called the land of Kiem, or the land of Chem, where chemistry, alchemy, and all this comes from. And the thing we need to understand is that they were looking and observing nature. That's what the ancient Egyptians, Atlanteans were really good at, is observing the plants, doctrine of signatures. A carrot looks like your eye, and it's actually good for your eyes. A walnut looks like your brain, it's good for your brain. Watermelon also, like using your melon. Sweet potato looks like your pancreas. Studies show that it improves insulin, is good for your pancreas. Longest lived women on the planet from Okinawa, Japan, have like 70% of their diet is sweet potatoes throughout their life. And there's so many correlations, but it goes beyond just foods. It goes into the herbs and the roots and the seeds. And then there's processes, there's actual algorithms that the body's meant to observe and go through. As far as, when do I wake up? What do I do first? When do I eat? How do I eat? How often should I poo? How do I open the channels of elimination? And this is talking about, defecation, urination, perspiration, and respiration, the 4 channels of detoxification. If I keep these channels open, then I maintain a level of health and vitality. And so if I'm pooping really well every day, then I feel really good. I'm letting yesterday's shit go. Everything's moving. I'm not backing up, becoming toxic. Most people that have a tire around the waist or hips or excess fat is because the fat is there to buffer the toxicity because your digestive system's not moving properly. There's so many people that are constipated and have plaque throughout their digestive system. And that plaque eventually becomes arterial plaque. And people get atherosclerotic plaque, and they end up having high blood pressure and high cholesterol and circulatory issues. Drinking enough water to make sure your urinary system is able to release the acids that are building up inside of the body. Because every time we eat, every time we, even exercise and do things extensively, there's acids that are accumulating from the use of energy. Every cell takes in oxygen and glucose, makes energy, and expels a little bit of acid. And then so what I'm doing right here, right now, is opening up the channel of perspiration. Defecation, urination, perspiration. I'm sweating out toxins. And there's so much science about the benefits. The more you sit in a sauna, the better. 3 days a week, amazing. 5 days a week, better. Every single day having a sweat, you're going to live longer because you're supporting the system of detoxification. And then we have respiration, which is the breath. Every time I exhale, I'm getting rid of acid. Every time I inhale, I'm taking in oxygen and nitrogen and these other components that are building me up and supporting the system of energy. And so all of this was taught. Advanced herbology, acupressure, acupuncture, chiropractic, adjustment, defecation, urination, perspiration, respiration, air, water, sunshine, exercise, whole foods, the types of things to eat, relationships and our emotions and how they affect the body and how to clear emotional stuff, and having passion and purpose in our lives. These are the foundational principles of health. And I find it interesting that I'm kind of ranting on this today. I actually start a program called HEAL, Health, Education, and Lifestyle. And it's 3 days. And it's 8 hours a day, 3 days in a row with all of my true physicians that have been on this pathway and healed themselves of cancer and heart disease and ulcerative colitis and autoimmune conditions and chronic fatigue and all the issues that come with living a Western lifestyle. People years ago found me. I've been talking the same thing for the past 20 years. And especially for about the past 13, I've been traveling and on tours and really barking the same message that we need to get back to the simple principles of health. The reason being is there was a family, a group called the Rockefellers, who became oil tycoons and monopolized oil around the world. And of course, they went to courts because you can't have monopolies, but they figured out ways to have other families and situations to benefit them. And then they found out that they could use petrochemicals. Literally, they could use oil, break down the actual molecular structure, and synthesize nature. They could copy parsley. They could copy white willow bark. They could copy the natural phytochemical nutrients inside of plants that heal us. They could synthesize and make the same molecular structure with literally oil. It's called petrochemicals. And the Rockefellers had so much money from the oil industry that they went into all the medical colleges around the world and started to slowly change everything and bring in a situation of these poisons, petrochemicals, that became pharmaceuticals that you can patent and own and charge vast sums of money. And it doesn't take much to get it. You don't have to actually go out into nature and find the herbs and the roots and the things and prepare it in a certain way and give it to people to where they actually heal. You could actually just mimic that with petrochemicals. And the problem with these petrochemicals is they all have side effects. They're all a level of toxicity, all of them. That's why every single drug that's on the market has side effects. And it will say right on there, oh, this could have the side effect of causing migraines in time. This could cause a side effect of internal bleeding. This could cause all these other things, which is 100% against the original Hippocratic oath, Hippocrates. And so Rockefeller and his team of thugs, the wealthiest people on the planet, slowly went in and brought in their pharmaceutical drugs and started to call anyone that used herbs and real, true natural medicines to help people to actually heal. They called them quacks, and they got rid of them. They stripped them of their licenses. And then you could only use pharmaceutical FDA approved because they own the FDA. They own the pharmaceutical companies. They own the FDA. It's all just a system that goes back and forth. And if you really look into history, you'll see that the heads of the FDA become the heads of the pharmaceutical industries, and the heads of the pharmaceutical industries become the heads of the FDA. They're all in it together. And it's this massive system of wealth and control around human health. And it needs to end. And this is what I've been dedicated my life to for the last couple of decades. Literally is educating people about this process and these pharmaceutical drugs and how everybody getting on, high blood pressure medication, taking just over-the-counter pills instead of actually doing what it takes to heal is contributing to this monster, this multi-trillion-dollar monster that just can't be satiated. It just wants more. It wants more. It wants more. You have to get on a schedule. And by the time you're 3, you have to have 30, 40 of these things injected into you. And we get paid for every single thing from taxpayer dollars or from whatever it is. And they have all these diseases that they own and control and have their treatments for, which are, chemotherapy, radiation, and all these things that if you really dig deep into, you'll discover chemotherapy causes cancer. It's a leading secondary cause of leukemia. Leukemia is an overwhelm of toxicity in the body, so your body proliferates lots of white blood cells. And, you could look into this yourself, medical journals, etc. I wonder how many people actually die of cancer and are actually dying of the treatment. Now, that's not to say, maybe they're so wealthy they also own the food industry. And what could we actually be putting into the food to lead to needing all of our drugs and our things? Now, sounding like a little bit like a conspiracy theory. But it's interesting that these conspiracy theorists are actually the ones that are correct when you really look into it. Who owns all of this? Why is there cancer-causing colors and preservatives and chemicals in my food and in my children's food? And there's a lot of class action lawsuits against these companies, Nestle, these big companies that, are putting these chemicals into children's formula and putting it into baby products that you just use to wipe your kid's ass with. Johnson & Johnson, go look at it. Massive multi-million or billion-dollar lawsuits because they knowingly put chemicals into their products that are known to cause cancer. And then once you have cancer, that industry owns cancer. They own it. And the only thing that you can do is cut, burn, and poison. You can get a surgical procedure done and pay us. You can get radiation done and pay us, which also radiation causes cancer. Or we can inject you with chemotherapy all through your body and hopefully reduce some tumors and maybe kill you along the way. And no matter what option you choose, it's all money back to them. And they become such a wealthy organization that bastardizes everything else and pays for science to show that it's their way or the highway, that we've literally gotten into a point where they dominate the world. They own and control politics, they own and control pharmaceutical, FDA, food industries, pretty much everything. And to the point that they can manufacture a problem, whether it's a problem or not, could be completely real or not. And, if it is completely real, even better. But we can amp it up, amplify it, and create something that's going to be the answer and force it on everybody and lock them down and destroy everybody's lives on the planet if they don't do what we say. And then come to find out, you do that thing, myocarditis, pericarditis, all kinds of issues, whatever it is. Who knows what they're pumping in? And, sorry guys, we just found out that it actually has no positive effect in preventing the original problem that we force you to inject all this stuff in the first place. And what a true physician would tell you is get out and go for a walk every single day, not lock down, get in the sun every single day to develop a high level of vitamin D, which is one of the main immunomodulators of the body, especially for respiratory infections. Drink the right amount of water, do the breathing exercises, open up the channels of elimination, shit, piss, sweat, breathe deeply and open these things up every single day, and you will experience a level of divine health. And so these are the basic foundational principles, but I've also been running these extended deep fasting experiences in Bali, Indonesia for many years, clinically proven, clinically tracking people's bloods, looking at their eyes, looking at all the signs and symptoms, tracking them all the way back from stage 4 cancer, no medical treatment, back to spontaneous remission and living a healthy life. And this is what I'm about. And this is what I think every human being needs to focus on first in life. Those years that we spent in school should have been learning basic anatomy and physiology, how to keep our digestive system, urinary system, respiratory system, everything functioning optimal so we could be healthy. And then after laying a foundation of health, then you can go out and build a business and finance and discover your passions and rule the world. And when I say that, I mean rule your own world. Become a master of your own life and experience joy and vitality. It's 11:11 right now. Probably a good sign. If you guys are listening to this, if it's resonating, come to my Heal program. 3 days will absolutely blow your mind and give you the actual truth of what you need to do to get yourself to an optimum level of health. I love you. Thanks for watching. Have a gorgeous day. Stay positive. Hug somebody. Forgive yourself and love yourself. Every day is a new day to take action towards healing and growth. Be blessed, and I'll see you soon.